discussion about the quinceañera in conjunction with this wonderful exhibit that Jean Jones, the Union Parish Museum director, has put on with the help of Mary Barrios, who's been the curator for the show, and the help of a lot of other wonderful families around Union Parish who have come in and loaned their beautiful gowns and other items that make up a quinceañera. So what our purpose today is to talk about what these quinceañeras are all about, how to do them, why we do them, what they mean, and all of that. And we will happily welcome your comments and questions from the audience, and we will turn to these experts for all the information that we need on that. So I'd like to tell you that I've not had a quinceañera. I didn't even have a 15-year-old birthday party. I'm from North Louisiana. I was born in Ruston, but I'm a folklorist at Louisiana Tech. And I was so fortunate when I was working with the Louisiana Regional Folklife Program at Tech, that was there for 10 years, to meet the Lopez family, here represented by Juanita and Maria Lopez. And they helped educate me in my field work on the Mexican-American community in North-Central Louisiana. So I was blessed, really, to meet this wonderful expert in all kinds of beautiful traditions that have been brought here from the mother country and that are still going on. If you see the photographs in the show, those are things from that field work that I did later. I think I met you in maybe 2007, and we were looking at piñatas, how to make piñatas, which Maria knew how to do beautifully and was teaching Juanita and her daughter Jessica. Where are you? Yeah, there she is right there. And so we wrote an article together with wonderful help from another person who is from works here in Union Parish. I don't know if she's here yet, Martha Perez Brown, and she helped us with that field work because unfortunately I don't speak Spanish. It's my biggest shortcoming, I think, because of my love for the community, and I can't really talk very well with Maria, but thanks to Juanita and her brother Freddie, who translated for me, and Martha Perez, I was able to communicate, and we did a couple of articles about all of this in Louisiana Folklife on the state website, and those are there. All you have to do is Google Maria Lopez and quinceañera or piñatas, and it comes up a really long article about all that. So if you're interested in more information, that's my commercial. But I'd like to first of all tell you who's on the panel and talk about maybe a scholarly definition of quinceañera and what people like Norma Cantu, who is Latina, who had her own quinceañera, and she writes about, also on our State Folklife website, writes about quinceañeras being a way for people to show their ethnicity and to be a coming of age ritual. Also, they call it a rite of passage. And I don't know if you know what that rite of passage means. It's kind of a scholarly term, but when we have a ritual that celebrates a change in status or that marks a change in status. When we get married, when we have a wedding, it marks us going from a unmarried person to a married person, and you have to cross that threshold. It's really a lot of danger involved, and so we study that. We call it a liminal place. And so you're making this transition. And our teenage years are like that too, when you transition from being a child to a young woman. It's fraught with all sorts of pitfalls that you go through. And so I think that scholars look at this rite to take you through that perilous time, a passage through that time. It's a ritual to help you move through that safely and to take you into a new status and make you part of a new community where you have different responsibilities and freedoms that you might not have ordinarily had. And so we want to look at that rite of passage and find out what happens in it. How many of you have had your own quinceañera? Okay, too. Okay, so you know more than I know about it already. So let's, with no further ado, let's just move on. You've met Maria and Juanita Lopez, and we have our curator Mary Barrios that you met, and also we're very happy to have Claudia Wade, who works with the Union Parish Hospital as a grant writer and a development officer, and Father Al Jost, who is with the Catholic Church here and also in Ruston, I believe. Is that right? And we might just open it up and think about the quinceañera as a really significant religious event, because they tell us that that's one of the big differences of quinceañeras from other, maybe earlier historical events that they might come from, like the 17th century court dances in Spain maybe, and it moved on into Mexico and South America. They had these things. They also had other kinds of events like cotillions and debutante balls and all, but there's no real root that anybody knows of, says Norma Cantu, whom I consider an expert on the quinceañera. And she says there's no real root that these came from, but they're probably a conglomeration of some of these other things, and they grew to celebrate this 15th birthday. So maybe we can think about what the quinceañera entails as a religious event, because it had, it has a mass, or it has a religious service in the Protestant belief. So, and then it also has a big party, which is more like its predecessor historical event. So, do we want to talk about what makes up a quinceañera here in Union Parish today? As you can see from all these artifacts, it's quite complicated. Mary, maybe you want to start?
Sure. I think for us, and I think part of this process was me actually learning a lot about what quinceañeras are, because I did not have a quinceañera. My sister had a quinceañera, but I did not. I wanted the money to buy a car, so I didn't do that, because that's about the equivalent. So I mean, they spend a lot of money on a quinceañera, and so it's a big celebration of family. But what I found really interesting in just going around to pick up dresses is I had the wonderful opportunity to meet Miss Maria Lopez. And I'll tell you that what she actually, I did not realize all the, I just thought it was a party, but it had some symbolic things to it, but I didn't really understand what each and everything meant. And so I think for me even to understand as a Baptist what a lot of the process is, and especially I think with the Catholic tradition in which I think it began, to be able to see that, I think it's been very interesting. But I think each one of these things that you see, whether it's a flower or whether it's an invitation, what was interesting for me is just to see how much effort is put into all of that, and how everything, when they put a crown on her head, when they do this, when she does this, is all very symbolic of so many different parts of what's happening with this young lady. So I think for me that's really been very interesting. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to say about that.
Well, maybe since we were mentioning the religious thing, and I don't know if the party came first or the religious celebration, or the mass or the other came first, but Father Al, maybe you could tell us something about what that service means to you and the community and the church itself.
Well, I guess first off, maybe to kind of share a little bit from what I learned entering into Hispanic ministry. I went to the Mexican American Cultural Center, which is established in San Antonio, Texas, in order to be able to help persons who are preparing for ministry begin to understand some of the traditions and practices that take place within the Hispanic community. And the whole idea of the quinceañera seems to have roots back in the indigenous people that lived here. Among the Indian people, indigenous folks, the Toltecs and the Mayans, there was a period of time when a person became 15 years old, that it was that transition from being a child to becoming an adult. And it was mostly connected with the men as a means of being able to see that they're going to become the warriors who can take care of a family. The other counterpart then became for the women to be able to establish then a home as well, understanding what would be involved with being able to live independent from their families and being able to carry on, within their own nuclear kind of structure as a member of the tribe or the community. So basically, it was really a transitional celebration of recognizing the importance of a person becoming an adult. When the missionaries came, one of the things that, missionaries do some things good and they do some things kind of bad. We don't always get it right. But one thing that became a part of the transition was realizing that these kind of practices were taking place already within the culture. And so consequently, there was a sense of saying, how do we bless what is already here and be able to bring it into a union with who we are and what we are about as a new people who have been introducing the faith to these people who have not been exposed to it before. Within the context, then, it became very much based off of the aspect of celebrating a person's baptism, because baptism was the way of being incorporated into the life of the community of faith. Consequently, then, the celebration of a quinceañera became focusing upon looking at a renewal of the baptismal promises on the part of the person who is now becoming an adult. Because when they were baptized, traditionally within the life of the Catholic Church, they were brought as infants by their parents who made the decision on their part to raise them in the faith, along with sponsors or padrinos. So consequently then, the religious celebration became an opportunity to bring back together those who were there at the celebration of that baptism. It was kind of a confirmation of that baptism being lived out now as the young woman then takes her place within the life of the community. So consequently, it became a means of being able to celebrate the values, the concerns, and challenges that they were now going to be embracing as they took on this stage in life. Does that kind of help?
Yes, it does. And as a matter of fact, I was thinking, I wanted to ask you, when you were asked to work with perform a quinceañera, what do you do specifically? Do you have a specific homily that you give, or do you make everyone individual? How do you decide what message you're going to give that young girl?
Well, I begin by having a class or an opportunity to meet with the young person and say, okay, let's see what is your understanding of this tradition. I invite them to explore who in their family has celebrated quinceañera and what that meant for them, so that there's a base of understanding where it fits into the life of their home. I invite them then to also say, look up and see, Google it, see what they have to say about quinceañeras and what you can tell me about it. Because part of it is if you don't know what it is you're coming here to celebrate, how are you going to be able to explain this to your friends and everybody else who you're inviting? And the next thing I start to work with them is to be able to say, okay, if this is a transition of you moving from childhood to adulthood, how are you taking on the responsibilities of adult life? And so I'll ask them, are you helping with the purchasing of the food that goes on the table? Are you working with preparing that food in the kitchen? How are you working with doing your laundry and the laundry? And what are the bills that have to be in the house that are going to maintain a household. Do you know how much your parents are paying for electricity? You know how much they're paying for that water bill? You know how much that cell phone cost you? Do you know how much, it's kind of like, if this is a time for you to become an adult, it's like, you can't be blind to these things.
Wow. So, and after you speak with them private in your meeting with them, you then go back and
then what we'll do
modify
is then the whole thing I said, this is your celebration. So it's like everything that's going to go on that day is your responsibility. It's not mine. I'm here to facilitate the celebration. You have to choose the readings that are going to be proclaimed in the service. You need to be able to tell and explain the other people who are going to be there what their role is going to be, so they don't look like they're clueless. And it's like, this is your celebration. You choose the music, because usually at a general service on a weekend, that's prepared for by the priest or the minister. But it's like, if this is your celebration, how do you wish to celebrate? We know what the structure is of our celebration within the Mass. Do you want to have a Mass? Do you want to have a prayer service? How do you wish this to take place? Do you want to have it in the church? Do you want to have it in the hall? It's like, there's flexibility. And it's all based off of where the person is at, what they choose to be able to do to make this happen. And my role is simply to help facilitate it coming together and then helping to put meaning, in a sense, on what are the actions that are taking place as we gather in prayer.
Interesting. So, Juanita, did you have such a meeting when you were planning your quinceañera?
Yes, I did. It was actually with Farmerville.
So maybe for people who weren't so fortunate to get to come to your quinceañera, you could tell them a little bit about how you decided what to have in your religious ceremony. Can you remember that? It's been a while. That was what, like 2010?
That was 2010, yes ma'am.
And you can see some of the photos from her celebration there in her Mass too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, actually, for the Mass, I actually had my mom to help me because I really didn't know much, so I'd be like, oh, Mom, well, I would always get her opinion. I always get my mom's opinion and everything.
That's smart.
So, yeah, so I would always go with her, and I'm like, oh, well, I picked some out, and I'm like, well, which ones do you think are best, and so she helped me out with that. And so that's how I went with the religion part.
I believe you had some music with guitars in your Mass. Can you tell us about that? Do you remember that?
Well, actually,
some of your friends?
we were going to have this lady, her name is Eloisa, she was going to perform for my quinceañera, but actually that day she went into labor, so she wasn't able to go, so it was just a last minute thing that, thank God one of my chambelanes, he actually played guitar and would sing masses as well, so we asked him, and so he made it out.
I never knew that story. You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, so hopefully we did have music. Last minute, but we did.
Yeah. Now, is there a certain order, maybe Father Al, you and Juanita and Maria both, and the ones you've seen, a lot of them here in Union Parish, is there a certain order of things that happen in the whole religious service, and how does it maybe differ from Protestants too? We might want to talk about that.
I would love to ask her mom that question, because
Okay.
I literally, when I went to pick up, I think something from there, I spent 3 hours asking her questions. I was like, really? And then this, so, la pregunta es, por ejemplo, cuando hicieron el servicio de Juanita, ¿cómo hicieron las decisiones de lo que se iba a hacer, de lo que iban a tener? Y está preguntando la orden del servicio y las cosas que se hicieron durante la misa.
Pues primero fuimos a hablar con el padre, ¿verdad? Que si nos podía oficiar la misa el día 29 de mayo.
So first she went to talk to Father Al to see if they could actually do it on the particular date, which was the 29th.
También le dije, ¿verdad? Que el padre Rigoberto es amigo de nosotros de la familia y él quería venir a oficiar la misa, ¿verdad? Pero si él nos prestaba a la iglesia o, ¿verdad? Nos dejaba que viniera a participar.
Or there was also another priest that they also had asked if it would be okay for him to come and do the mass, or if Father Al would allow him to come and do that at the church.
Es un padre de Colombia que antes ya estaba en esta iglesia y él supo que iba a tener quinceañera y él quería venir a oficiar la misa, ¿verdad?
Oh, so he knew that he actually was here before, and so he wanted to come back and actually perform the mass.
Pero el padre la preparó, él estuvo preparando todo el proceso, él estuvo participando un poco en la misa.
So Father Al actually prepared her for the mass, like he said, with the meetings and things, and he actually did officiate part of the mass itself.
Así fue como organizamos lo que fue el evento de la iglesia. Él estuvo haciendo varias preguntas y a mi hija se le tenía que contestar. Luego le dio algo que tenía que dar gracias, ¿verdad? Por la vida de Juanita y así, como cuestionario.
So he also gave them like a questionnaire where they had to answer questions, and then also the parents, and he gave her a prayer as well, and something for the parents also to thank God for the life of Juanita as well.
Así fue como organizamos la cuestión de la iglesia.
And that's how they organized what happened in the church.
Él nos dijo que buscáramos la cuestión de lecturas, la cuestión de organización de todo lo que se usa en la iglesia. Nosotros nos encargamos de buscar todo lo que se necesitaba.
And just as Father mentioned that he tasked them with actually finding all the different parts of the service, like the scripture readings and all those sorts of things. They are the ones who organize that.
Yes, I was very curious. I'd never been to a quinceañera when I met them and I went to the Martinez twins quinceañeras, and there was like a wedding procession coming in. I missed all that, and there's because we got there a little late, unfortunately. But then for Juanita's, that was the first time I really saw the procession, and I thought, wow, this is so wonderful. And not only was there a procession in, but then midway through, they came out, and then they came back in, and so there were several processions that, to me, I wasn't following too well the Spanish, what was going on, and so it was very interesting. But maybe you could tell us more about what all those are about, all those different processions in the Mass.
Yes, como cuando agarramos que salemos y vamos y traemos el pan y el vino, dice que primero entramos y hacemos procesión, y luego dice que de vuelta salimos atrás.
Porque llevamos las ofrendas. Llevamos las ofrendas porque va a ser la hora de la consagración, como lo que se consagra de la misa.
Oh, so they're bringing the offerings that will actually be part of, I guess, to consecrate, to actually, the items that would actually be used during the Mass.
I think it was a good observation, kind of saying it's like a wedding, because in many ways it is.
Without a groom.
Well,
Without a groom, that's right.
It might as well almost be.
Right.
The reality is as the entrance takes place with the members of the group we're going to be celebrating kind of leading in, just like you would have at a wedding. The young woman is escorted in by her parents, and oftentimes if the padrinos or the sponsors of baptism were there, they will also come in together, and they'll sit up in the front with the individual. So it's kind of a celebration of this group together. There is at the offertory, the liturgy, the Eucharist or the Mass is celebrated in two parts. We call it the liturgy of the Word, liturgy of the Eucharist. The Word then focuses upon, just what the Word is. And so I actually have a list of readings that I give them to choose from that would be able to address, so that they can then, they're constructing what is the message that will be proclaimed in the Liturgy of the Word. At the end of the Liturgy of the Word, it's a procession of the gifts that are going to be offered at the Mass. It would be the bread, the wine. It would also be the chalice, and be brought up by the young woman and her parents, and they'll receive a blessing at that time. And usually then we invite them to also stand around to be a part of the celebration, so they're recognized as central in this celebration. The final procession takes place with then the young woman going off with an escort, and the parents stay behind. And it's kind of, if you look at the fathers sometimes, it's like, it's like, there goes my baby. And it's kind of like this awareness that she's not my baby anymore.
That's true. Well, in El Salvador, we celebrate a little different. The young girl stays kneeling on a pillow the whole service to show respect and her faith in front of the main altar. And at the beginning of the procession, she walks in the church followed by 7, you call them the chambelanes, and 7 maid of honors, which symbolize 14 plus her, 15. So we celebrate a little different, and from what I learned from history, the whole quinceañera tradition started in Mexico with the Indians. But nowadays, it's celebrated in all Latin America. And also, we also don't wear different colors. It's only pink. Pink, and we call it the pink rose ball. Why pink and why rose? Because roses symbolize gratitude. And that's a way of the quinceañera to show gratitude not only to her parents, but also to the family and friends that come to celebrate with her. Long time ago in El Salvador, it also meant that that young girl was ready to get married. Because people used to get married at a very young age at that time.
Yeah.
So that meant that she was ready. She had learned how to cook, how to take care of a family, her house. More or less what Father Al asked them. So, and everything means something. Like it comes with, they really wear a crown, because it means, and they dress like princesses, because that's what they mean to their families, to their parents. And also I remember at young age, my mother never let me wear high-heel shoes. Oh my gosh, if I even tried to put some nail polish on my nails before I was 15 years old, that was bad. I'd be in trouble, or lipstick, or makeup. We had to wait until we got to that age in order to do all those things. So, and at that time too, I don't know if the father gives the daughter a ring, and I brought my father's ring. This is the ring my father gave me when I turned 15 years old. So, everything has, it means like, it was the last time. That was like the symbolism, like when you get married, that was probably the last ring that your father will give you that symbolizes your transition from being a young girl into adulthood. So we celebrate.
Is the ring given in the mass, or well, this was your ring, and I believe you would tell me
given during the service.
During the service,
Yes.
Did you have a quinceañera?
I didn't have a quinceañera because in El Salvador, young girls can either choose to have a party or to go on a trip. So, I used that money to go to San Francisco and take an English course for a year. So I really wanted to learn how to speak English.
But so you got your ring anyway, even
I
though you
got
took
my
the
ring.
trip. Did you have the ring at a special service that they had for you?
Yes, it's blessed by the church in a special service. So I still have the mass. I just didn't have the beautiful dress
Oh, okay.
and the crown and
So-
the big party.
One of the things that we didn't mention was they do have gifts from family members. I don't know if it's necessarily a ring from the father, but like their gifts of jewelry given at the mass, right, and they're blessed, is that right?
Yes.
So what did you get in that case?
Well, I got a ring as well. I got a ring. I got earrings. I got a necklace, and I got a bracelet. And my brother gave me a rosary.
So,
And a little baby Jesus.
And
Eso de honra.
well, it was actually a surprise. I wasn't expecting that.
that was at her party.
That was at my party.
All right, you wanted to tell them that story?
Well, it has a special symbolizing to me because, well, I had this friend, Diane Martinez. She was like my best friend, and she had a car accident and wasn't able to be at my party, and so her fiance, yes, was wanted to give me something in her name, so he didn't know what to give me, and so he said that he dreamed of a baby Jesus, and he was trying to, like tell her like, oh, give me like something. What can I give her? And so he dreamed of baby Jesus, and he's like, well, that's maybe what she wants to, for him to give me in her name. So it was a surprise, and I wasn't expecting it, and yeah. So.
It was a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
And the baby Jesus itself, in other contexts in the homes, is a very important symbol. And you have tell them how you use it in the home, maybe.
Yes, the baby Jesus. Well, it's actually during this time my mom actually makes the dresses that we put on it, and
They're beautiful. She knits
So,
every
yeah.
Crochet.
one of them.
She does all the beautiful
Yeah.
crochet in the case on there. So, and you put the baby out on an altar in the home,
yes.
and it's there as a reminder for your religious prayers and maybe we need to address this idea of, does everybody have a quinceañera? Or do you get options in El Salvador? You have a chance to have a trip. What about you, Mary? What did you do?
Yeah, I got a car with mine. I mean, it was an Oldsmobile Omega. It wasn't anything to talk about, but I mean, at least. But I think the thing is that I was, I was born in the U.S., and so I think the things that maybe were as important to me were maybe a little bit different for that reason, and so. My friend Stephanie always says you're more American than some Americans in that sense. I love the Saints and gumbo and don't know how to cook any Hispanic food hardly. But I do think that what I do see, especially in our community here, is how important it is to families to do this for their daughters. When you hear the pride in their voices and the things that they're able to do, and the investment in some of these dresses and the things that they're able to do for their children, you see why it's valuable in that way to them. But I think, especially for, I guess, maybe some of the Central American countries, it's not maybe as important as far as to the family itself. It's more of like a party, a celebration. It is a blessing.
It's bigger in Mexico than any other place in Latin America, because we have a lot of tea parties instead of big parties like a quinceañera party. We have a lot of tea party, just girls' party, celebrating 15 years. Everybody dressed in pink, and we do different things.
Why the pink?
It means gratitude. Yeah.
And well, for
Show
us,
gratitude to your family.
what we are most excited about is the party. We are just ready for the party. We're just counting the days. We're like, oh my God, it's just 1 week away.
Well, what is so great about the party?
Well, actually the dance. Because for us, we don't get to dance with guys until we're 15. We don't get to, now with our parents' permission, we are not able to talk with little boys or have boyfriends or, none of that until we're 15. So that day, well, you finally get to dance with, guys, and just go and try to, meet guys, and so, and before that, no. So we're all just excited, like, oh, it's gonna be about 15, and we're just really excited about the party.
How do all the families decide whether they will give quinceañera for their daughters? Does anybody know how that happens?
Well, I'm pretty sure my mom can answer that question.
Pregunta que cómo deciden si van a hacer una quinceañera para su hija. Porque hay días que tuvimos una opción y no la hicimos, pero ¿cómo deciden que se va a hacer?
Pues lo platicamos entre como la pareja, ¿verdad? Si creemos que tenemos la posibilidad de dinero económicamente, porque la gente también ayuda. Toda la gente, uno ya empieza a planear, dice, ¿cómo ves? Pues le haremos o no le haremos, pues vamos haciéndole, bueno. Ya empezamos a planear y ya, pues, empezamos a buscar primero a los padrinos de bautismo, ¿verdad? Que si nos la acompañan, pero primero hablamos la misa y hacemos las fechas y todo, y luego vamos y miramos los padrinos.
So she's saying that first they have to look at their finances, and so it's like, can we do this, can we not do this? But of course there's always like godparents or sponsors for a lot of different items, and so in that sense, but she also says then you look at the church, and when are we able to do the mass, and what are we able to do there, and then they start seeking the people who are going to help support or sponsor.
Ya después de ahí, pues empezamos a buscar personas, ¿verdad? Que sí nos pueden ayudar. Algunos que van de padrinos de las cosas que llevan, del accesorios. Y demás cosas, ¿verdad? Que también porque toda la gente es como una fiesta en comunidad, porque toda la gente ayuda. Toda la gente le ayuda a uno económicamente y también con comida. Es una cosa como más de celebración, como de participar y que la comunidad se junte en celebrar.
And she says it's more of a community party, which that I have noticed, that especially, is that then the community participates, whether it's, they'll provide food or different things, or they'll sponsor different items. They also will look for the godparents, as you mentioned before, for the baptism of the young lady, and so for their participation as well.
So it's really striking in how much support there is from all of the family and the community that help with serving the food and making the food. And like I heard that they stay up all night and cook a cow, a beef, a whole cow, or maybe, did you ever use pork, a pig?
Yes.
Yeah.
cook
So you have to barbecue the whole thing to feed like 300 people. I mean, it's a lot of people that come to these parties.
Maybe more.
And it's just a really interesting array of people in all kinds of dress, and they dance, and there's not a lot of consumption of alcohol as far as I saw at the party when I was there, but it is really a community party. They have music, they have bands, they may have 2 bands. I know in Yetzica's quinceañera, they had a mariachi band, and they had a bando, what is the other band? Bando?
Yes, conjunto. Yes,
They had a gunto band. And so it was 2 very different styles, old style and new style of music there, and lots of interesting things in addition to that happen. You see all of these special decorations that go in, like you can see in Juanita's celebration, they had those lavender and white roses, and those were handmade by your uncle and aunt with the stand and the flowers. They made those in Mexico and sent them up here, right?
Yes.
So we had all of, and you'll see the floral decorations with the paper flowers and the blue straws up there. Those were mass decorations for the Martinez quinceañera that Maria and her friends put up. Maria made all those, and she made those special for this exhibit, I think. So and the decorations might be handmade, they might be commercial, they might be specially made in Mexico, like the lavender and white roses that Juanita had. So there's all kinds of decorations, and even the paraphernalia for serving the food, the tortilla bowl, and you should be sure and take a look at that, because they were hand crocheted covers for the tortilla bowls, and for the little plastic champagne glasses. They had crocheted covers on those, all put in the color coordinated things. So everything is very color coordinated, as you can see in all of these exhibitions. And every one of them has, it seems to me, because I think we have dolls everywhere, every one of them has the last doll. Tell us about the last doll. What is that all about? You guys didn't get a last doll, sorry.
But I want that one back there, that was beautiful. And I do want to mention, we do have somebody here who actually, there's a couple of dresses here that are directly from a store that sells all of these items. And that's Miss Alberta here. And she is from the store Big Gran Fiesta, but you can see all those different things that will come with a dress. So that's what I'm saying. I'm pointing at her when I'm like, I like that doll back there. You know, there's like the Saints colors and all this thing. But I mean, everybody gets to pick all these. You know, you can pick whatever style that you like for all these.
It matches your quinceañera
It
dress.
matches your dress.
So tell us about your doll. How do you pick that doll? What do you do? What's it mean? What happens to, how is it used when you get home?
Well, you go to the store, and when I already went to the store, I already had my color picked out. I already know what color I wanted and all. So you go there and you see all this beautiful stuff, and you get to pick out which ones you want, and you know, and there's a whole bunch of different styles. And so I got my last doll, and the last doll is usually, well, you know, you're a kid still, and you play with dolls, and you're turning 15, and, you know, not up, I don't think you'll play with dolls anymore. So that's what symbolizes the last doll, giving your little girl her last doll.
And can you describe what happens in the part where they bring out the doll? What happens?
Oh, yes, well, we did it kind of different because we also have our, you know, the change of the shoes, right? The
Like
change of the shoes.
the slippers.
The slippers, yes.
The high heels.
The high heels, yes. You take off your low shoes and you put on high heels because, you know, you're becoming an adult. And the doll, well, you dance the dance with the doll and, you know, with your dad.
You carry the doll while you're dancing
Yes,
with your
while
dad.
you're
That's a really complicated symbolism going on there. When you think about all that jammed up together, which is really exactly what
And
that transition is like, because you're torn between being a child and being a woman, and it's a really complicated time of life. And it's so beautiful, and yet it's so sad, you know, when I see this.
Yes. So, and a lot of emotions just come to you, and yeah, it's well, I didn't cry, but I just, you know, try to hold it in.
Because you're 15.
Yeah, yeah.
Now in that photo up there on the top, you're dancing with your father. You have a what is the
It's
thing?
a little wand.
It's a little wand. Sometimes we
It
call
comes with the crown.
it comes with a crown.
Yes.
And you got on your crown. When did you get your crown presented?
Well, you usually get it in the mass.
Did you get yours in the mass?
Yes.
Okay.
And in the mass, and then, well, like my sister, she got hers in the mass, and then when we went to the party, she took it off, and then they put it on again. Yes.
Okay. What does the crown mean to you?
Well, it has like two meanings, actually. Like in church, it's like represents kind of like the crown of like the Virgin Mary, and in the party, you put it on again as symbolizing as you're the queen of the party.
Where do all these people, all these 300 or so people, where do y'all do your dance?
Well, I had my dance at the Civic Center in Bernese.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty big.
It's a big area.
Yes.
It's not the
Yes.
church room, yeah.
But I think that's what makes it a little bit different. Like, we're Baptist, or I'm Baptist, so, like, actually this beautiful dress back here is Evelyn's dress, she's in the back. Look, I'm embarrassing her. But with our particular, you know, church, we don't necessarily have the tie-ins that are similar. Like, you know, you're not baptized when you're a child, so there's not that symbolic gesture of connecting that. but it really is more of a celebration as well, a celebration of her life, thanking God for her life, but there's not a dance. We love to eat, now we will eat, and she'll do a lot of the traditional things, like they will have like the traditional dance they do, but there won't be like a dance, like there's not like she had a mariachi, and then, some of them will have like a Christian band, but there won't necessarily be,
You just turn the radio on and.
or there will be a band. They'll spend just as much on a band, because I'm trying to think how much the mariachi was. But you'll still, it'll be just as much of an investment, but probably not that. And then the ties of that, because it's been interesting for me to even hear like, oh, this person is the one who gives you this dress because it ties into your baptism. It's like, wow, who knew that? So, but that's where it's a little bit different with us.
And you said you in the Baptist ceremonies they do, or in the parties they do a little a traditional dance. You
they
said
will,
that was
like
something
I
with
think,
ribbons?
I think Evelyn had something with, look Evelyn, I'm sorry, I'm using yours, so that's the last one I'm going to. But she had something with ribbons that the young men that, because some of them will have young ladies, but some of them will have all young men. I think, you can see her picture back there where there was all those young men dressed up in military outfits. And so I think it just really, and that's your quinceañera, yeah. But some of them will have young ladies, some of them won't. And so I think with Evelyn it was all young men, and so they all did like this, I guess like a dance, yeah. But there's not like the first dance with your father, which I thought was so sweet when your mom was talking about that, because what that is, you dance with your father before you dance with any other boy. And so I was like, oh, that's so sweet. So that's what that picture is of her dance with her father, and then that's when she said, then now you can dance with other boys. But first it's with your dad. So I thought that was sweet.
So go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Another gift that I forgot to mention that we received that day, it's a cross with the ring that symbolizes our faith.
I usually get a Bible too.
Well, they all get Bibles, and they have the most extraordinary Bible covers that match their stuff. They also get other things that come with the package.
Yes, albums, photo albums.
Photo albums and
The signature album.
guest registers. We opened some that were here, but some didn't have any signatures in them. Do they not use these registers? Because I know there were people there.
Oh yes, you get someone to actually go table by table, so the people can actually sign it.
But it's interesting because you asked me about that, and I said, I don't think I've gone to a quinceañera where I've signed anything. So, have you, very few, where I've been asked to sign it. Yeah, something like that where they might, if they were, but there's been others where you
walk around the table, that's why I signed.
So, it's a lovely celebration, and one thing and it's expensive. It's very expensive, and they have a lot of community support. So why do you think we do it? What does it mean? If you kind of think about that, and we'll open it up to questions. What does it mean for us to continue this tradition?
It's us.
It's part of our culture.
Yeah.
Yes.
You almost don't think about it other than to say it's just us, and it celebrates the young ladies and who they are. And the beauty of it is, as much as we're here, we're still us. And, we're very much a part of what's, Union Parish and United States, but there's still a part of us that still exists and what we brought with us. And so I think that's beautiful, that sense of community of, like how she says, and that happens whether it's Baptist or Catholic, we're all helping with the food. And, everybody's coming, you need some help, what do you need to put out? And so I think just that sense of you feel a part of that. You feel a part of that young lady. You may just be somebody that just knows her mom, but you feel very much a part of that celebration because they belong to us.
I think it is also the fact that we want to share how happy we are to see that transition of our young girls from being a girl into adulthood.
I look and I see in the back they have for Olivia Grego. She was born here, okay? And so it was kind of like a new experience for her, but because she had so many friends within the Hispanic community, who are also celebrating quinceañeras, it was like, well, you know, you feel left out if you don't have one. So even though she's not Mexican or Hispanic by birth, it's like it was a way of celebrating together and recognizing that I'm a part of this bigger community.
Right.
And I think there's so many different dimensions to it, I think, in that kind of respect, because not everybody has a quinceañera, not everybody can afford one, but everyone will kind of do something special to mark that occasion in their life. And it's like, whether it's done in a formal way, like a church service and a big celebration in a hall, or something in the home, it's still an important celebration of transition that's carried on. And it's a great way of remembering we're part of something bigger than who we are. If that helps.
Just thank you for that. That was a beautiful statement and summary. And I want to see if we have a couple of minutes, about 5 minutes left. Is that right, Jean? And I wanted to see if some other people in the back want to come in. Come on down. We have seats in the front. They're not coming in. But maybe you have some questions you would like to ask our panelists.
What was your most exciting memory of your own party?
The most exciting memory. There's just so much. But I think the most exciting is actually dancing. Getting to dance with your father, and then from there, I'm a great time with everybody else. But the best part is dancing with your dad.
I believe you practiced. I came over one day before your quinceañera, and you were out in the backyard practicing with
Yes.
your chambelanes and maybe she just had chambelanes. She did not have the damas.
No, I did not have that.
And they have
There
kids.
really wasn't a lot of girls at that time.
So you have to vary your numbers of attendance for each ceremony by how many friends you have to include, or how many are available, or how many you can get talk into
Yes.
participating.
Yes, because they actually buy their outfit that that they're gonna wear. So it's like they're actually doing a favor, for you. Like
It's a big favor.
I'll go and participate at your party. So yeah.
I like being a bridesmaid. So other question. I think we had several hands up. I know I had some hands up back there. Come.
Well, another question about the food. Is there a special dish, particularly for the party?
Let's talk about the different parties, because you've been to some different parties from these. So, and maybe in El Salvador, what do they have?
La comida tradicional siempre con nosotros es la barbacoa y el asado.
Yeah.
Carne de pueblo y carne de res.
What she was saying, it'll be like the barbecue, where they put it in the pit.
Barbacoa es en el campo, no hay barbecue.
Oh, I'm sorry, no. Pero no lo ponen así. ¿Con los palos qué? Yeah.
Pero también frijoles y arroz.
Rice, beans, and there'll be asado, which is like a pork. So there'll be, and so that's the reason for the salt and pepper shakers and the tortilla thing, because you'll get just meat. And so you're putting it on tortillas, and you'll usually like the salt, there'll be salsa on there, and then there'll be rice and beans. Some people will have mole,
Yes.
También mole.
yeah, which is like a sauce, and usually it'll have like chicken in it.
They had some rice.
Yes.
There's some rice and some
Rice,
beans.
beans.
It's similar in El Salvador, but we don't have that many tortillas over there, so it's more bread. Yes.
And salsa, and a big cake, and it looks like a wedding cake, yeah, they're huge, yeah.
Well, now the ones, are they usually like tiered cakes, like wedding cakes, in El
In El
Salvador?
Salvador,
And,
we do.
yeah, and the ones, I believe I've seen some where they had individual cakes that were maybe placed on different structures to make them into tiers or sculptural things. So, I think both Jessica and Juanita had those individual cakes, and they're beautifully displayed. When do they, tell us about the cakes and when they cut them and what they do with them.
Well, we usually just go and cut, and our parents actually give us the first bite. Like, my mom feeds me, and then my dad gives me some, and, you know, we take pictures.
Like a wig.
And, so yeah, that's, well, usually we cut the cake when, well, we have the dance, and then the group actually takes a break, and then that's whenever we go and cut the cake.
You can see the lavender and white cakes right over there. I forgot that was there. So, and they have all sorts of other symbolic structures with them. You have the church with the steeple on it. How did you choose that?
Well, actually, I didn't get to choose my cake. It was because my aunt from California, she came all the way from California to actually cook my cake because she wanted to cook it.
Where'd she cook it?
She actually cooked it at my neighbor's house because my house was, yeah, there was a lot of people there. We had a full house. So she actually went to my neighbor's house. She brought everything. She brought one a full luggage of just materials to make the cake.
Wow. And there were like 6, maybe 8, I can't see them all from here, but it looked like about 8 cakes that are, and one's not even in the picture, I think.
Yeah, and it's a pretty moment because all your family actually tries to come and we all gather up.
We have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, did any part of this celebration migrate back to Spain? Do they have any celebrations?
I don't know.
In fact, they came from Spain.
Oh, I thought it was the Indians over here though that
Well,
had,
it started with the Indians, but when they colonized Latin America, first Mexico, that's how it started because
So
they are big in Spain.
oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
the native peoples there were having their initiation services or rites, as they would call them, maybe, in another language. But then the Spanish come in with their 17th century court dances and all that kind of thing. And so these things kind of merged. I kind of left that out in my first presentation, but it was a merging of different cultural things. And that's what happens when different cultures come together. You get these beautiful new, we call them creolizations in academic circles, but a lot of interesting things come out of it. And as Father Al said, we have an American girl who has, I think her stepfather is Hispanic.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so she has some into the culture by having a stepfather from the culture you were talking about. And so she wants to have one too. Well, yeah, I'd love to have had one. I think they're beautiful. And it sounds like a love, and it's a great party and a beautiful service too. Yeah.
Well, all these dresses and things, all this pretty stuff, what do you do with it? I mean, once it's like, do you save it for your child, or do you just put it up? I mean, what do you do with it?
Well, my mom, we actually have it in our dining room.
Oh, okay.
So we have it exposed there.
Yeah.
in our dining
What,
room.
your dress is in the dining room?
Well, my dress is not. It's too big.
But all the
What's in the dining room?
But like all the
all the stuff.
crochet,
Mhm.
yes.
And like a little
And like a
case.
case, like a
yes.
It's
display
like
case.
displayed in a
Yeah,
display
like a
case.
display, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and we have a little, just a little spot there where we keep it, and then I actually have where we hang our little bottles that comes with the champagne.
Yeah, you'll notice there's some of the
Some of them.
some of the displays have
Yes.
a glittered,
Up here.
Yes.
champagne, and the bottle's actually up there, and that one it's decorated. They'll take these, they're either champagne or they might just be cider, sparkling cider, and they decorate those things to match the color scheme. And a lot of them have glitter, and they're just beautiful. And I don't know if they ever do they open those?
I didn't open mine.
So
No, but
you've got some
other
vintage
people
champagne
do.
in there.
Other people they do, but I decided to save mine.
Okay. And as far as your dress, do you ever wear that again?
I have worn my dress 2 other times. I actually wore it at a parade in Bernice, and I was representing the quinceañera, and I actually won third place. And then the second time, it was, third time, it was actually in homecoming here in high school.
As a formal for
Yes, for homecoming.
But I think most of the girls don't ever wear these again.
No.
It's almost like something that they'll save. And,
Do they like put them in like you do a wedding dress, put them in a box, save them?
oh yeah, because that's actually, with some of these, it's like, you know, picking them up, it was like you got stuff in boxes,
Yeah.
and, you know, this, and a lot of the dresses were, you know, put up in
But
the garment
then
bags.
do you save them for your family, your child, or whatever, or do you just save them because it's when you were 15?
Usually you just save them,
save it
just
because they're yours.
for memory,
Yeah.
yes, just for memory. Because if we save it for a child, they're probably gonna want a whole other dress.
Well, it might save some money.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times brides do save their dresses for their daughters. Not that it works out, but you know.
Yes.
I don't know if anything's ever. A veces con los vestidos que, por ejemplo, si usted tuvo un vestido de su 15, ¿usted guarda eso para que lo use su hija o de una forma participa en algo que de los 15 de su hija o no? ¿O nada más usted lo guarda para, como su vestido?
Pues casi nomás se guarda pues, como de
¿Recuerdo?
Sí, como un recuerdo. Pero como Juanita pues sí, ya se lo sigue usando. Sí,
Yeah, Juanita's an exception. She kept using hers, but
No,
she's
that's-
most of them just use it as something to keep, and you know, you just keep
use the
it.
dress,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, one more question. Yes, sir.
The picture next to the cakes, what's happening in that picture?
There's typically in the quinceañera, there's a big gift, or often, I don't know if it's in the ones that you have for the Protestant services
Yeah.
or not. But where, maybe some of the sponsors or the godparents or somebody gives a lot of different gifts inside a great big box. So that's the typical thing, but this is Juanita's, so.
Well, actually, I'm in that box.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'm inside that box, and that's, they bring it in, and I pop out of the box, and from there, I start my waltz with my chambelanes. I start dancing with them.
Now whose idea was that?
Well, actually, it was a lady who actually planned my waltz. You know, she's the one that coordinated it and everything.
Now, who's
So
that?
she's the one who had the idea. Her name is Susie.
Is she part of your community?
Yes, she's part of the community, and she's the one who actually had the idea of having me in a box and, you know, me coming out.
There was music to go with that too.
Yes.
It was
Yes, and there's
Like
balloons
the-
inside as well.
yeah, there were balloons, and when she comes out, the purple and the lavender and white balloons are everywhere.
Yes, and I was in there with my dress.
But I was, those guys were really straining when they bought that out. Yeah, that's a really big deal. So,
And really hot.
it was hot. How long were you in the box?
Well, I wasn't in there for long, but I was just in there with, they put a little chair in there actually, and I just tried to gather up all my dress. It's pretty hard being in there with that dress. But yes, that's what was going on with that box.
Specials. She was the gift herself.
Yeah.
So this has been such a gift to me to join Father Al Jost and Claudia Wade and Mary Barrios and Juanita and Maria Lopez to talk with you about the quinceañera. I want to thank Jean for the opportunity to do this and for making such a beautiful exhibit and all the donors. I don't know how many donors we have here for that, but if you want to raise your hand and say hi, we would be glad to acknowledge you.
Because like I mentioned, there is someone here also from the store that, these are actually two new dresses, the black and gold one, and this one right here too is her dress too.
Okay, so if you're planning a quinceañera and you need to shop, it's your time.
There you go.
But thank you for joining us, and I hope you will stick around and see the exhibit. And
Thank you all very much. Please pick up a flyer before you go. We have 2 more workshops planned during this exhibit. One will be a cooking workshop on February the 9th, Mary, and some others will be doing a cooking workshop. And February 23rd, we'll do a Planning Your Quinceañera for those who are thinking about planning their quinceañera.
And I might add too that Claudia brought us a wonderful brochure, I haven't had time to read it, on traditional Salvadoran quinceañera. And so she has these up here if anybody's interested in that. We didn't really get into great detail on all of that because it's such a complicated event everywhere. There's so much to be learned. You can read a lot, and there's a lot on the internet about it. I also want to thank the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities for the grant that helped sponsor that event. Chris Robert from the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. So we really appreciate their support of this exhibition.
And thanks to everyone for being here.
So thank you.
We thank Susan for